Johnny and Jose from Tiger Bomb MMA, and we're here to break down UFC Fight Night Blaydes versus Lewis. We're going to be going over the entire card. We'll give you our thoughts on the matchups and our overall predictions. First fight of the night, we've got Cool Hand Luke Sanders versus Mayhem Joseph Nate Maness. We've got Luke Sanders coming in with a record of 13-3, and Nate Maness coming in with a record of 1-11. We have here a matchup at catchweight. Maine is coming in with a significant reach and height advantage. And is that enough to potentially beat the UFC veteran? I'm going to say no. I think Manus is kind of slow. He's primarily a boxer, but I saw him get handled by a smaller man in Johnny Munoz's last fight. Wasn't overall impressed by him in his UFC debut. He got the win barely by the edge of his teeth, really. I thought he could have lost the fight had it not been for that point deduction in the fight. For Luke, I think he's going to be the more explosive fighter, the faster fighter. And if he plays his cards right and he comes in with the proper mindset, he should come in here and get the knockout.
I'm looking at these two guys, and I actually see this fight as a pick'em fight. I don't really see anybody holding an advantage over another. I mean, their records are fairly on par. While Manus, his last loss was outside the UFC. Yes, Luke Sanders has faced better competition in the UFC, but if you look at his losses, he lost to Ronnie Yaya by submission heel hook. That was 2 years ago. Before that, he got knocked out by Andre Sukumtath. That was close to 3 years ago. And before that, he lost to Yuri Alcantara by knee bar. That was three plus years ago. While yes, he has faced better competition, he has not looked really good whatsoever in the UFC. And like I said, I see this as a pick 'em. You can flip a coin, and either of these guys can really win. I don't see anybody having an advantage. Um, while Manus has the height and slight reach advantage, um, I don't really see that as an advantage for him. And on the flip side, Luke's experience, yes, he is well experienced in losing by both knockout and submission. So I don't know if that is really going to serve him all that much here. While he may have a slight edge in experience, I don't really see it that way. This is a coin flip to me.
So, what's your official pick on this one?
Um, it's a coin flip, to be honest. Just because now in the COVID era, these guys, some guys tend not to show up. And while Luke isn't, I think he's well past his prime at 34 years old. And yes, he did knock out Renan Barão in his last fight. That was well over a year and a half ago. He hasn't fought in, while Manus, he fought 3 months ago. And yeah, he barely edged out Munoz in that fight. I think that recency bias may give Manus a slight edge. But on the flip side, that could just mean, Luke took all this time to heal up, maybe get better. Who knows? Maybe he's a, world beater now. Who knows? I really don't see anybody with an advantage, to be honest. This is a coin flip for me.
Looking at the odds, they are pretty much what you said. It's a near pick 'em. We've got Sanders coming in at a minus 120, and we've got Manus coming in at a minus 105. So the
Yeah.
the
I
bookers
mean,
have
if
it
I
the same
was,
way.
I wouldn't take a side here. I'd probably take the over 2.5 rounds. I get the feeling this is probably going to go to decision. So if I was placing a bet, I'd probably place it on that, on the over 2.5.
Right. Next up in the bantamweight division, we've got the Tibetan Eagle Sue Mandajari versus Malcolm X Gordon. Uh, This is China versus Canada. In this fight, we've got Sumandajari coming in with a surprisingly not lengthy reach advantage. It's a 72-inch reach versus 71-inch reach for Malcolm Gordon. My initial thoughts on it, just picturing it in my head, I thought Sue would have had a way longer reach. Even their leg reach is rather similar. It's a slight advantage for Sue by 1.5 inches. Um, the way I see this fight going through is Sue using his superior striking skills, primarily those kicks that he throws. With his last fight versus Soccer Mom, he used his kicks super effectively. I was very impressed by it. He was throwing side kicks to the leg, to the body, spinning heel kicks to the face. There is a path to victory for Gordon, who overall I'm not too impressed with. The main reason for that, his last fight with Albazi, he got submitted by a purple belt, and allegedly Malcolm Gordon is a black belt. He does have some excellent submissions, and he can ride your back, which Mandajari has to be very careful with. As long as he can keep his distance, I can see Sue edging out the decision. Again, he has to be on his bike. He can't get stuck up against the cage, or for the love of God, he has to sprawl when Malcolm Gordon goes for his legs, but he can comfortably win this decision as long as he picks him apart from the outside.
I agree. I have Sue winning by decision. He is 6 years a junior of Malcolm X. Malcolm is over the hill at 30 years old in the 135-pound weight division. Oh, excuse me. They are fighting at 125. My mistake. So they're both fighting 10 pounds lighter. I think it's going to be easier on Sue. I think he has the athletic prowess to just pick him apart, as you mentioned, on the outside. Um, yeah, I do not see Malcolm Gordon just coming in um, and holding him up against the cage unless Sue decides that's what he wants. But really, this is Sue's fight to lose. If he, you know, decides to just let him smother him for 3 rounds, then yeah, he's going to lose. But I don't really see that happening, despite the odds being. I think they should be a little bit closer. Minus 335 for Sue versus plus 265 for Malcolm. I think are off in my opinion. I'd have Sue at minus 150 and Malcolm at like plus 120. It's a little bit closer than that, just because I don't think Sue's all that much better than Malcolm Gordon. He does have, while I still think he'll win, I don't think he's that big of a favorite. Let's not. Who are we kidding? Um,
Yeah,
and
those
yeah,
odds speak that Sue is going to destroy Malcolm, but I don't see it that way. I think it's going to be a relatively close fight. So
I
you're
believe
right.
so.
You're right in regards to the odds being ridiculous. I wouldn't put any money straight up on Sue. I don't think it's that much of a lock. Uh, Maybe a live betting opportunity, because if Gordon can get that takedown in the first round, I can see him potentially riding out the rounds on his back. He might. Oh, he has a possibility of getting that choke as well. Uh, I would say Sue, because he has been choked out in the past. He should be working on that defense, especially knowing that Malcolm's a black belt. But yeah, live betting opportunities right here, my friends.
Yeah, I'd actually also look into the props. Sue by decision should make the odds a little bit better. Maybe bring it down to minus 200 or below that. That I maybe jump on, or at the very least add to a small parlay with another fight on here possibly.
Next up in the featherweight division, fight I'm really excited to watch. We've got Jonathan JSP Pierce versus Kai fighting Hawaiian Kamaka. And just to cut to the chase, I have not been impressed by Jonathan Pierce. He's a fun fighter to watch. He's wild in there, but something about him, I don't like him. I think it's his face. It just bothers the shit out of me. Uh, but overall, he hasn't impressed me. I saw tape on him, and he's really defensively poor. Like, I see a lot of openings. He is a whirlwind of punches, though. He comes at you. He throws He throws punches. He throws some wild uppercuts sometimes, which I like. I like to see his uppercuts, but he leaves himself so fucking open that Jesus Christ, like it just bothers the shit out of me seeing him do that. Like he even throws some spinning back kicks, and they're pretty poor. They're piss poor spinning back kicks, but if they land, they land. I can't shit on him for that. He is coming in here with a height advantage. He's 6 foot tall, fighting at featherweight. It's a bit concerning. I'm not sure if he's ever made featherweight before. His last fight was at 155, where he got schooled by our favorite gremlin Joe Lozon, where Joe Lozon big brothered his ass. I've never seen a ass whooping like that before, with his arm behind his head and just eating punches. For Kai Kamaka, dude is super impressive. His last fight with Kelly, incredible fight of the night. He is able to push a pace. He goes for the body. He rips the body, which I love to see. He embodies everything a fighting Hawaiian should be. So that's a perfect nickname. The only concern is that he's coming in on short notice. His last fight he did slow down, but I'll attribute that to the damage that Kelly was landing to the body, that would slow anybody down. I think if he stayed in shape, which I'm more than positive he did, he'll come in here, take advantage of Jonathan Pierce's lack in defense, potentially knock him out. And I say potentially because Jonathan is tough. I'm not going to knock him for that. He's a tough son of a bitch. He reminds me of a smaller, more hicky version of uh, Chris Lieben. So if Kai can't get him out of there, I am looking to potentially bet Kai in quite a bit of parlays, really, mainly because again he seems to be the more well-rounded MMA fighter opposed to the brawler who pretends to be an MMA fighter.
I agree. I have uh, Kai. Uh, I don't want to say edging out a decision, but I see him winning by decision. I don't know if he'll be able to knock out Jonathan Pierce, but I could be wrong. Could knock him out in 10 seconds. First, I'd say his best chance to knock him out might be the first round, being that he's coming in on short notice. If this does go into the second and third rounds, depending on what kind of shape he comes in, he might slow down a bit. So I'd say if you like Kai, and if you see the knockout, maybe a round one prop bet, um, Kai by knockout or Kai winning in the first round might be a good deal because as the odds currently stand, Kai is almost a minus 400 favorite. Jonathan Pierce is a plus 300 favorite. And while as much as I like Kai, I don't really see him, coming in and beating down Jonathan Pierce unless he saw tape of Joe Lozon and comes in, takes one arm and, um, you know, takes it to Jonathan's face, which I also do not like.
It's crazy that the odds for Kai Kamaka minus 385, meaning that a guy coming in on short notice to fight a guy who's had assuming a full training camp with everything going well, is going to beat the shit out of him. That's what the odds say. So the disrespect coming out on Jonathan Pierce is to the level of the way I disrespect him right now. And I see it that way, really. So I think we're both in agreement. Kai Kamaka, more than likely decision, probably something to look out for to prop bet.
Yeah, straight betting Kai Kamaka at these odds is insane. I mean, the odds, in my opinion, again, are off. So from a betting perspective, there is value on the underdog, Jonathan Pierce, because of that. However, I don't like Jonathan Pierce, so I'm not going to bet on him. If I did place a bet, I'd include Kai, maybe in a parlay, um, but I'd look at those prop bets either by decision, possibly by knockout, may sprinkle a little bit, but um, I see Kai, winning handily by decision.
Next up in women's flyweight, we've got a fight between Gina Danger Mazzani versus another Hawaiian in Rachel Ostovich. I hope to God I got that right and she is Hawaiian. But coming in here, the records really say it all. This I doubt this is a loser leaves town matchup because I don't think they'll really cut Rachel just because of her looks and her assets. But she's coming in with a record of 4-5. Gina Mazzani coming in here with a record of 5-4. So just the opposite. I don't have a whole opinion on it. The only thing I can say on it is that Rachel Ostovich is on a 2-fight losing streak and she hasn't fought in almost 2 years. Gina Mazzani last fought versus Julia Avila, where she got her ass beat in the first round. When it comes to losing by strikes, and then in Ostovich's case, she lost by submission both fights, and she hasn't fought for a while. I'm going to take the more well rested fighter. And that's saying a lot because Gina's coming down in weight. She is the bigger fighter. She's got a 3 inch height advantage. She's got goddamn near a 6.5 inch reach advantage. I think Rachel having the thickness in her legs, she'll have enough to take her down and then potentially just ride her out in the rounds and just edge out a decision.
Um, this is just this is women's MMA at its best. One sub 500 fighter fighting a barely over 500 fighter. I can't believe there's an actual favorite in this fight. My jaw dropped when I saw that there was one, which is weird. If anything, I would have them both at like plus 200. I know it doesn't make sense, but
It does not. What the
there,
hell? Where are you going with here?
this would be probably the first fight where I call Vegas and just be like, what the hell's wrong with you guys? Why aren't both of these fighters plus 300? Because they're both they're both it's like two underdogs fighting. Um, and well, I mean, I don't feel comfortable taking a side here. While Gina does have the height and reach advantage, Rachel Ostovich has the looks advantage. You can't really tell she's Hawaiian because of all the Botox and plastic surgery she's gotten. Uh, I think she'd be you'd be remiss to say she's not Beverly Hills or wherever with the rest of those clowns. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't, I don't see a favorite here. Like I said, I'd have them both at plus money. Uh, I can't take a side, so I'd probably take the over because I don't know if one's going to be able to smother the other in any way. It's going to be, yeah, I'm not really looking forward to this.
Well, I'll put it to you this way: in a split decision where literally either girl could win, which let's be honest, it's going to go to a split decision. I'd rather have the dog money at a plus 115 for Rachel, which I've done a bit of research. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but calculating all the women's MMA fights throughout this year, they're not far off when you're picking the underdog versus the favorite. It's like a 60-40. So 60% of the favorites win and about 40% of the underdogs win. So it's never really that crazy to pick the underdog with women's MMA because more often than not, or not necessarily more often than not, but the likelihood of you making some money off of that is it's not too bad.
Yeah, I personally am going to stay away from this fight just because I've told myself once, if not once, twice, maybe thrice, that I'll stay away and not bet on women's MMA. But then I get down on a particular card, desperation kicks in, and I bet the house on who I think is going to win, and they lose. I've had it happen to me time and time and again. I think I finally learned my lesson. I'm staying away from women's MMA. Can't really make a pick here just because
Dude, that's
they're
a
both.
bold-faced lie. You know you're not going to stay away from women's MMA. Just
Who am
like
I
me
kidding?
saying I'm going to stay away from women. It ain't going to fucking happen.
Yeah, who am I kidding? I'm probably I probably added Rachel to one of my parlays and I didn't even think about it. I don't even remember at this point.
Like, wait, what's that? Angela Hill's fighting? Oh
Yeah.
shit, take my money.
True.
That's enough women's MMA. Next up on the fight card, we've got a fight at bantamweight. We've got another Hawaiian Martin, the Spartan Day, versus Anderson Dos Santos. We've got Martin Day coming in with a record of 8-4. Anderson Dos Santos with the lengthy experience of 20-8. Japan versus Brazil. They have him listed as Japan. Well, shit, maybe he's Japanese. So interesting fight taking place at 135. I'm going to try to get through it as quickly. I didn't like the way Martin Day got knocked out his last fight. It was pretty fucking brutal. Didn't like this. Didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. Like I had money on him. I felt really bad, even though because I'm an asshole and I respect the fighters 100%. But when I'm in the middle of it and I've got money on them and they're losing the fight and I'm like, come on, just win this last round, and then they end up getting knocked out viciously, I tend to get pretty pissed off at them. But that was a fucking vicious knockout. I took years off of his life. That was 4 months ago. Compared to Anderson Dos Santos, his last two fights were a decision loss to Nad Narimani and another decision loss to Andre Yule. I do like the odds coming in on Anderson Dos Santos. He's a plus 155 compared to Martin Day coming in at minus 175. It is a loser leaves town match, I think. Another loss for each of these fighters, they're out. I want to go with the underdog with Anderson Dos Santos, mainly because he is a fucking dog. He was getting outclassed by Andre Yule his last fight, and he went after it. He did his fucking best to try to win that fight. Despite him being older, I see him doing anything in his power, potentially going for takedowns, just swinging wild, potentially even catching Martin Day. I do see Anderson winning this fight by decision, mainly because I see him being overall the tougher guy, willing to go after it. And really, I don't know how well Martin's going to handle fighting again after that vicious knockout. Tends to be when fighters get knocked out, they tend to be a bit gun shy. So he might come in like that, knowing that they both need a win. I think Anderson is just going to say fuck it and go after it. Compared to Martin, he might try to play it safe to try to edge out the win and try to save his job. He is a younger guy slightly, so again, Anderson Dos Santos by decision.
I wholeheartedly agree. While Day might have a 5-inch height advantage, slight reach advantage, that knockout not so long ago, I think I don't know if his brains have unscrambled since then, and I believe Anderson is the tougher fighter in the sense not just because he didn't get knocked out in his last fight, but uh, when the chips are down, he's going to go after it. He's not just going to lay down and let the judges just you know go with the other guy. He's going to go after it. Now I think both of these guys are over the hill at 32 and 35 years of age, especially in the bantamweight division. It's really a young guys game these days. Um, but I think Anderson is going to stick around after this fight. Once he gets the decision, we're probably going to see at least one more, maybe two more fights out of him, depending on who they match him up with next. But yeah, I see that underdog money maybe coming in for Anderson. I don't know. People might like Martin Day, and he might be a bigger underdog come fight day. Might get some really good odds then. But I see this definitely going to decision. So might get for sure look for that prop bet. Anderson by decision will get you well over, hopefully well over plus 200.
Next up in the fight card, we've got a fight at women's bantamweight between Ashley Rebel Girl Evan Smith and the immortal Norma Dumont Viana. Uh, do we want to spend a whole ton of time on this one? This is one of those other fights. Uh, Low level women's MMA. This one's taking place at 135. We've got Norma, who just got her head scrambled by hot girl with tattoos. Megan Anderson. Not to say I don't know who Megan Anderson is. I just have a shitty memory. So Megan Anderson knocked her the fuck out in the first round. That was 8 months ago. Is that enough time for her to come back? It is women's MMA. It was at a higher weight class. coming in with Ashley Evans Smith. Not very impressive. Losses to Andrea Lee by decision, Sarah Moras by submission, Caitlin Vieira. That is what it is. Caitlin's on a pretty good tear right now. Her only win in the UFC within the last, what, 2, 3 years has been to Beck Rollins, who is, I don't know how well you want to take this, but bare knuckle fighting champion. It's a pretty damn close fight. It is going to go to a decision. I'm going to go with the fighter who has fought at a higher weight class recently, and that's Norma Dumont. I see this going to decision. Her being minus 115, I'm staying away from it. They're relatively a coin flip. Again, staying away from it, but I am going to go with Norma by decision.
I agree. I'm of course going to stay away from this fight whatsoever. And I don't think her brain. I think 8+ months is enough time for her brains to have gotten unscrambled. And I'm going with her mainly because she only spells immortal with one M. That got my vote, so I am jumping on the immortal with one M train.
Next up in the opening fight of the main card, flat out fight of the night coming through. We've got the Alpha Ginger, Spike Carlisle, fighting Bill Mr. Perfecto, or not Mr. Perfecto, Senor Perfecto Algio. We've got Spike Carlisle coming in with a record of 9-2, and Bill Algio coming in with a record of 13-5. Uh, Alpha Ginger is a fucking alpha beast, man. Like watching tape on him was incredibly fun. This dude is a fucking wild man. He is super fucking strong. I'm assuming he channels energy from Rampage Jackson, the way he just lifts dudes up, going for arm bars on them and just slams them on their fucking head, as he did with Billy Q. Dude is monstrous in the grappling department. He's able to spin out of bad positions. He's able to get the back mount and just pound you out. When it comes to Bill Algio, pretty tough dude. He has some good attributes, I would say. So he's got some pretty good scrambles. He's a tall, lengthy dude. He's 6 foot tall coming into this matchup. He's got a slight reach advantage, about 2.5 inches. Uh, my main concern about this matchup is when you've got the shorter fighter versus the taller fighter, those fucking knees. Me being a relatively taller dude, whenever I'm in that situation, I always think go for the fucking knees up the middle. That is my bread and butter. And I see Bill Algio doing that, but I don't think it's going to be as effective when you're doing it to the fucking Alpha Ginger. If he tries that to Spike Carlisle, he's going to catch the leg and dump him on his fucking head. I've got Spike, the craziest motherfucker with red hair, Carlisle, winning this fight. I want to say round one because he's a fast starter. He's going to come in. He he's not going to make it pretty.
I agree. I think I have Spike Carlisle winning this in under 1.5 rounds by Zangief spinning tornado slam, whatever you call that from Street Fighter. He's just going to get he's just going to grab Bill, spin in the air, and dump him in the middle of the ring. Um, but realistically, I do see the Alpha Ginger putting a beat down on Bill Algio. Um, Somewhere toward the later half of the first round, early second round, I see a TKO by Spike. Um, I foresee a beatdown. He will punch him in the face fairly gingerly, and that'll be it.
Fairly gingerly. Just so I'm not on Spike Carlisle's balls and Dick riding, I'll say this. He has shown some questionable gas tank. His last fight with Billy, he fucking flew out of there like a bat out of hell and tried to get him out in the first round and didn't go through the way he wanted it to. And he did show signs of fatigue. He did push through all the way to the third round to get to the decision. I will say this: Bill is a tough dude. If he can survive that onslaught, it's going to be a closer fight. It will more than likely go to a decision. The only thing, though, is that I do like Spike's overall heart. He doesn't have a soul because he's a ginger, but he does have a whole ton of heart. So I think if it goes to the later rounds, we'll be able to push through and get the decision. That is, if he doesn't get that knockout in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, I see Spike winning this fight everywhere. Either if he decides to go by to decision, if Bill can handle that ginger storm coming his way, um, I see a 30-27. I don't think Bill Algeo is going to win one round of that. Or if he doesn't take him seriously because he does have 4 inches of height on him. Uh, um, he may very well just get knocked out.
All right, our next matchup is a welterweight bout between Caramel Thunder Miguel Baeza versus Takashi Tensato. Interesting fight. This is a fight I'm really looking forward to seeing. I want to see how well Miguel Baeza does in this situation. He is 2-0 in the UFC, coming in against Takashi Sato, who has a multitude of experience. Miguel Baeza coming in with a record of 9-0. Takashi Sato, nearly 19 fights total with, I'm sorry, exactly 19 fights total if I can learn how to fucking count, 16-3. Uh, Interesting fight, mainly because I want to know if Miguel Baeza has the chin to withstand punches from Takashi Sato. His last fight with Matt Brown, I had money on Matt Brown. And there was a moment there when I got out of my seat and I'm getting ready to go to the casino to cash out my fucking ticket because he had Miguel Baeza hurt badly. He did survive that and then come back and knock out Matt Brown in the second round. So he does have good recovery. The thing is that though is that when he's put in a bad position, how is he going to handle it? Especially with a power puncher like Takashi Sato. Uh, at this point, we've got the length versus the power. I did like some of the tape I saw on Takashi Sato with his last fight. His last fight came at welterweight versus Jason Witt. He knocked him out in 38 seconds. His movement looked vastly improved since his fight with Bilal Muhammad. Although he lost that fight, I actually thought he was doing pretty well against Bilal. It was a tough fucking fight. So much so that I think Bilal would actually beat the shit out of Miguel Baeza. Uh, but he has shown improvement, and I'm going to bet that Takashi has enough power to knock out Miguel Baeza. He is a slight underdog at plus 145. Miguel Baeza coming in at a minus 180. I do think these should be lined a bit closer. And I get it. Miguel Baeza is undefeated. He has the look. He has the presence of a star. I think they're trying to build him that way, especially with these odds. We'll see how that goes for him, but I do see Takashi Sato coming in and getting the knockout.
I agree. I have Takashi Sato by knockout in this, but I will maybe sprinkle also a little bit on Takashi by decision, just in case Miguel Baeza happens to also survive the onslaught I foresee in round one, possibly early round two. Um, and while he does have a 4-inch height advantage and slight reach advantage, I think Takashi Sato has shown better. Uh, while he's 1-1 in his last 2 fights, I think he's fought better competition and shown, that he is improving. While Miguel Baez, I think, just barely got past Matt Brown by the skin of his teeth. Um, yeah, I have Takashi.
I got a joke for you, just because I'm an idiot. Might even cut it out of the fucking official audio, but if we've got Takashi on top of Miguel Baeza in the north-south position, what would you call that?
Caramel Sato.
Takashi 6'9".
Oh,
Anyways, we've got next fight coming in at the heavyweight division. between Josh Parisian and Parker Porter. And I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I'm going to spend more time talking about Parker Porter. I don't like his name. It doesn't sound right to me. I think we've discussed it that it sounds like he's a pig, like Parker, Parker Piggy. I don't know, man. I just don't like it. I don't like making fun of fighters, and I'm not making fun of him directly. I just don't like his name. It just sounds weird to me. Going on to Josh Parisian, he's a serviceable fighter. He's 13-3 coming into this fight against Parker Porter, 10-6. His last fight, Parker, that is a loss to Chris Dawkins, and he got knocked out. That was 3 months ago. Don't like that. Coming in here, Josh Parisian is on a pretty good knockout streak. I think the last five of his fights, he's knocked out his opponent. I see that happening here. He is a dude I am going to look into actually betting and a couple parlays and specifically for the TKO line, maybe even round one. I don't think Parker's going to be able to take the leg kicks because Josh Parisian throws some pretty hefty leg kicks, hefty as in thick, as in heavyweight thick, because they sound pretty fucking bad when he throws them. He's a spinning shit connoisseur. He likes to throw the spinning shit. He throws spinning back fists, spinning fucking body kicks. He is the bigger guy. He is 6'4", and he looks like a heavyweight. Parker Porter looks like a heavyweight for other reasons, but he doesn't necessarily look like a UFC heavyweight. So for those reasons, I've got Parisian knockout, just for the shits and giggles, uh, first minute of the first round.
I agree. I have nothing really positive to say about Parker Porter. He got knocked out by Chris Dawkins in his last fight. Chris Dawkins is not a KO kind of guy, and he got knocked out by him. Josh Parisian, on the other hand, he has, besides the height and reach advantage, he has the age advantage. He's a 30. He's a young 31 in a heavyweight division where most of the top guys are, at least 10 years older than him at this point. So I think he has a bright future. Meanwhile, Parker Porter, he's going to get his second loss by KO. And I agree, it's going to happen under a round and a half. So that might be uh, minus 225. I'd say, the odds should be maybe minus 160, minus 170. But I guess money's coming in on Josh, and getting him by knockout might get him closer to, minus 100, maybe even plus money at that point, depending on what the line is by Saturday.
Next up in the light heavyweight division, we've got a fight between Anthony Lionheart Smith and then Devin Brown Bear Clark. Anthony Smith coming in here with a lengthy record of 33 wins and 16 losses. Devin Clark coming into this bout, 12 wins, 4 losses. If this was up to a battle of the animals, I believe a lion will beat a bear. But it's not that simple when it comes to this fight. I know a lot of people are looking at Anthony Smith in this fight to see how he's going to perform because his last two fights have been a little over underwhelming. He comes into the Glover Teixeira fight essentially guaranteeing that he's going to be the first man to submit Glover. And he was looking good in that fight until he blew his wad, and Glover does what Glover does and takes you down and beats your ass. And then the fight with Rakic, it was a fucking clusterfuck. He got laid and prayed by a striker, which I don't know what that means really, because I would say that Rakic has the advantage on the feet against Anthony Smith. Maybe he didn't want to take the chance against a guy like Anthony Smith, but he did show that his grappling isn't up to par. If a striker can take him down, that is a giant striker. He's 6 foot something. With Devin Clark, he's coming in on a 2 fight win streak, but not incredibly impressive win streak. He's got a win over Daquan Townsend where he just took him down repeatedly. Didn't look impressive even in a win. And Alonzo Menifield, again, he won that fight, and I'm not disputing that he didn't win it, but he looked super underwhelming. He got put up against the cage and he landed more knees to Alonzo Menifield than Alonzo Menifield. landed on Clark at all. Even though he did bust up Clark's eye, um, he still lost that fight. I'm looking at this fight kind of as a fan, not as a bettor. I might stay away from it just because I like Anthony Smith. I think he's a good guy. He's from Nebraska. I'm from Nebraska. It's hard for me to pick against Anthony Smith, so I might be picking this fight out of uh out of a personal bias, but I think I see Anthony Smith still having something left in the tank and winning by submission. I think he'll tire out Devin Clark. I think he'll put him in bad spots. I know Devin Clark's going to try to take him down. Clark's got some ridiculously sized legs, like fucking unproportional to his body. So it would be smart of him to try to throw some leg kicks to the legs of Smith. But I think Smith is just too damn tough. I think he'll find a way to win. He is a third round fighter, and I think he'll get back on track.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think Anthony Smith is a pretty cool guy, and I can see where your dilemma is. You never want to bet with your heart, because it'll break every single time. Um, yeah, I think Anthony Smith, man, he has lost three of his last five fights. It's not like he lost to Cans. He lost to Rakic, Glover, and John Jones in his last five fights, which is nothing to scoff at. He lost against some of the best guys currently in the division. He did beat Gustafsson, which isn't doesn't really say too much considering we saw what how he got manhandled by what's his name, Verdun, in his last fight. But I agree with you. I think Anthony Smith does have uh, at least a bit left to take care of Devin Clark. That's if he doesn't get leg kicked to hell, which I don't see him. He has, a good enough fighter IQ not to have that happen to him. And I don't see Devin Clark, knocking him out like Rakic or manhandling him like Glover. And we know what kind of tank Glover is, from his last fight. Um, I will not have any side or anything having to do with this fight, just because I think it is way too close. And as I mentioned, while I do think Anthony Smith has a slight edge over Devin, it's not enough to have any confidence that actually Anthony Smith will actually win this fight. So I'm staying away. I don't really have a pick or anything with this fight, to be honest.
In our main event of the fight night card, we've got Curtis Razorblades versus Derek the Black Beast Lewis. Coming into this fight, we've got Curtis Blades with a record of 14-2 and one no contest, and Derek Lewis coming in with a record of 23-7 and one no contest. It's going to be a hell of a fight, black on black violence in its full and purest form. I am really looking forward to this fight. I've actually got a personal bet with a friend of mine, and I've lost to him once already, and I don't want to lose to him again. So the way I see this fight is pretty simple. It's a washing machine fight. It's going to be a rinse and repeat. It's going to be Curtis Blades going for takedowns and keep going for fucking takedowns. He's going to tire out Derek Lewis. Like Derek Lewis gives up takedowns relatively easily, especially even to smaller fighters, because in his last three fights, he gave up takedowns to Lexi Olenek, to Alir Latifi, and he won those fights. But I don't like the way he gives up takedowns. He's an excellent power puncher. He is the Deontay Wilder of MMA because he can put out anyone's lights with that one punch. He could be losing the entire fight and then just come back and land that one punch and get the victory. As for Blades, I'm fairly impressed by him. I know his last fight he was huffing and puffing during his interview after beating Alexander Volkov, but that's Alexander fucking Volkov. That's a tall man. And when you're taking down a tall man, that is going to exhaust you. I would say that Curtis Blaydes used more energy trying to take down Volkov than he's done with almost any one of his last fights when he's trying to take anyone down, aside from Ngannou, because goddamn, Ngannou's got his number. I do see Curtis Blaydes eventually getting the TKO on the ground after exhausting Derek Lewis and just riding him for a bit. And then I would say round three TKO. I wouldn't even be surprised if Blaydes gets a standing knockout because his hands have been improving. I don't think he'll try to play around with that because, again, Derek Lewis is no one to fuck with on the feet. So Curtis Blaydes will continuously go for takedowns, maybe play with him on the feet a little bit, enough to get Lewis to swing, duck under, last double, lay on him, try to lay some ground and pound on him. Derek Lewis is tough. He will more than likely get up because he has a way of doing that. He's got a way of saying "fuck you, I'm getting back up" when it comes to the grappling and jiu-jitsu. So he will let him back up. He'll rinse and repeat with takedowns, get him tired, going round three TKO Curtis Blaydes.
I agree. The way I look at it is, uh, in his last 5 fights, Derek Lewis got submitted by Daniel Cormier. Uh, getting submitted by the fifth Teletubby is nothing to write home about. Um, Curtis Blaydes. I know DC. He's an Olympian, and if you challenge him, if you tell him that you're able to take him down, apparently you're his rival for life. Um, but Daniel Cormier is not a takedown machine. Curtis Blaydes, that's all he does. He's going to take you down, and you're going to stay there because he's not going to take you down once. He's going to take you down throughout the fight, whether it's 15, 25 minutes. And he showed with Alexander Volkov that it doesn't matter how, whether you get up, he's going to keep taking you down. He's kind of like the, Khabib, darker Khabib of the heavyweight division to a certain extent.
Well, just to cut you off for a
He,
second, yeah, something popped in my head. Do you remember when Justin Gagey said that if one man can hold you down, two men can rape you?
yeah.
Yeah, well, Curtis Blaydes is those two men because he will hold you down and he will rape Justin Gagey.
um,
Continue.
yeah. Yeah. I see Curtis Blaydes not winning the fight by just the takedowns alone. He has some pretty vicious elbows that Alistair Overeem can attest to. So while Derek Lewis will probably be able to get up maybe in the first round, possibly second round, by the third round, Derek Lewis is going to have nothing but that single crazy shot that he always manages to pull out in the later rounds. But by then, Curtis Blaydes will have taken him down. He can change. He can go from striking to changing levels in a split second. He's pretty quick for a heavyweight, and that's what these guys they just don't bother training for. I mean, Volkov, he knew what was coming. He didn't bother training for it. Same thing with Derek Lewis. He's just going to do whatever he does. He's never really bothered improving. While he has won, 3 fights and he has a 3-fight winning streak, it's a very unimpressive 3-fight winning streak. He hasn't really fought top competition. Meanwhile, Blaydes is, well, he's number 3. Realistically, he's next in line after this fight, I think, for the belt. And I
After
think he
Ngannou.
probably, after Ngannou, yeah, correct. He's next in line after Ngannou. And I can't wait to see, Blaydes and Ngannou 3 for the belt.
All right, so that breaks down our predictions. Uh, Overall thoughts, Jose? What do you think about the fight card, and are you excited to see one fight over the others?
Yes. My fight, the fight that I will anticipate is the Alpha Ginger versus Bill Algeo. I think that will be fight of the night, and I'm rooting for Spike to get his bonus.
Well, because I don't want to dick ride Spike Carl out any longer, I'm going to say I'm excited to actually see the Anthony Smith fight. I want to see him pull it off. I'm rooting for him. I I just don't want him. I don't want him to go out like that. You know what I mean? Like he's a veteran. He's always been a fun fighter to watch. Uh, Seen him since Strikeforce, really. So it's one of those types of guys that I have a personal connection with because I've seen him for so fucking long, and I don't want him to go out the way of like a BJ Penn. So I'm looking forward to seeing this fight. I wanted to see if Devin Clark has actually shown any improvement. So if he can beat Anthony Smith, and I'll just say it, Anthony Smith will more than likely retire after that fight. I want to see if Devin Clark does beat Smith, where does he go from there? Because Devin Clark has a lot of attributes that could make him a potential contender in the light heavyweight division. He just seems to have like a mental block. So we'll see how this fight goes. I'm excited to see it. That's my fight to watch.
I hope if Anthony Smith does win, he retires on top because how many of these fighters do you see retire on top? I mean, Anderson Silva's last fight, he didn't retire on top. What was it? Shogun's last fight, he isn't retiring on top. A lot of these guys, they just kind of go until they can't anymore, and it just becomes. It's sad, not because I think it's sad for them. It's sad for me because I like a lot of these fighters, and I don't want to see them get beat down like that.
Yeah,
So I, same thing for Anthony Smith. I don't want, I don't want to see him, fight bottom of the barrel guys in his last, get another 5 fight contract and just go, go down to the bottom of the barrel, and yeah, it's not something I want to think about. So I'm hoping he wins and he retires, not on top, but retires with a win.
agreed.
And those are our picks. Like, share, and subscribe.
Make sure you leave a comment below.
Tiger Bomb MMA. Wow.